Does anyone still remember Osmosis Jones? Around once every 2 years, I wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and remember a specific movie that was ingrained in my head at some point in my childhood. Heck, I don't even remember how old I was or where I was when I first had Osmosis Jones beamed into my brain. It was always just there. But there was always a question lingering at the back of my head. How the hell did that movie get greenlit? And why do we all somehow know about Osmosis Jones? If you don't remember or don't know about the masterpiece that is Osmosis Jones, let me educate you. Osmosis Jones is an animated bacteria-related film that aired in theaters all around the world after releasing on August 7th, 2001. The plot follows a white blood cell, Osmosis Jones, and his troubles guarding Frank Detour's real-life body, in which both Jones and a new virus called the Red Death now reside. The Red Death, also known as Thrax, makes it his mission to become the most dangerous virus in medical history by killing Detours in 48 hours, while Passionate Officer Jones plans to stop this from happening and to protect Detours' body by defeating Thrax. The film was made with a mix of mostly animation to show the cells in the body, intersected with real-life acting to show the body in which the cells reside, and the world happenings that impact the microorganisms. Its name is also a nod and play to the popular film franchise Indiana Jones. Detour, played by Bill Murray, finds his place on a star-studded cast, with Osmosis Jones being voiced by Chris Rock, and the supporting cast including Chris Elliot, Ronald Shit from Schitt's Creek, Laurence Fishburne, Morpheus from The Matrix, and Daniel Hyde Pierce, Niles Crane from Frasier, but likely better known as Slim from the masterpiece known as A Bug's Life. Despite a strong cast and appeal to both more mature audiences due to Chris Rock's humor and younger audiences due to its animated features, the movie was a box office failure, with only netting in $14 million despite its budget of $70 million. So, why did it do so bad? Weirdly enough, I don't know a single person that remembers watching Osmosis Jones out of their own volition. And the box office sales clearly show that nobody went to the movie theaters to watch it. This makes sense though, since the movie itself isn't the best. To me personally, it isn't the worst, but it's important to note that we're watching it with a meta hindsight type view on it, 20 years from when it originally aired. For the sake of this video, I sat through all 95 minutes of Osmosis Jones, paying full attention to figure out what went wrong. Within the movie itself, there are several issues that I can point out, even if I don't consider myself a film buff or a movie fan at all. The acting could be better from both the adults and the children of the film, but it's also pretty fast-paced, which I did enjoy. The use of a soundtrack, R&B inspired music, and humor were all done well. However, I found that there were issues with the tone shifts between live action and animated bits, which ended up feeling jarring or just completely strange. Climax near the end tries to ramp up stakes for not only the bacteria, but Detours himself, despite not giving him enough screen time or expedition to make us really care. Randomly, past characters' deaths are brought up without proper build-up that such a jarring subject really pulls one out of viewing the movie and makes you ask yourself why you care. And you realize you really don't, and it's also a kids movie, so no real character is gonna actually die. Plus, sometimes random jokes are thrown during these serious segments that makes you wonder if you're supposed to laugh or not, since it's the climax and there are still stakes on the line for both Detours and Osmosis Jones himself. But despite all of these flaws, it still could have succeeded in the box office or in the long run. In reality, many movies make money in the box office not because they're good movies, but because of the marketing. Think about it. Movies only stay in theaters for an average of 4 weeks. If you're recommended a movie by a friend or by a reviewer, which would happen if it wasn't an exceptionally good movie, you'd have, giving an optimistic estimate, 3 weeks to watch it in theaters. And that's under the assumption that your friend watched it within the first week. I think for a lot of people, it's hard to find time that quickly to watch a movie in theaters. And the main point I'm trying to make is that in actuality, for theater ticket sales, the latter half of its theatrical release may be more dependent on it being a good movie, but the majority of the run is heavily influenced by marketing and making people want to watch the movie before it even comes out. So does a lack of marketing explain why Osmosis Jones didn't do well? Although not heavily documented, forums online have discussed the failure of Osmosis Jones, with many comments leading back to late 2001, claiming they barely saw any ads for the movie, and the ones they did see were lame and unappealing. We can conclude though that likely a large amount of the $70 million budget went into production. Various sources state that the movie went through production hell, but when I tried to actually find articles or sources for this point, nothing came up. Either way, it's safe to conclude that a large portion of the budget went toward productions and other costs, leaving the marketing budget small and advertisements to be sparse and lacking in many ways. However, as we look at Osmosis Jones 20 years from its release, we can also conclude some other reasons as to why it didn't do well, even over time. Sometimes, some movies don't make a lot or go over well when it's first aired, but in the long run, are then appreciated for what they are, or even age better with time. Jennifer's Body was a very badly reviewed movie when it first came out, but now is a cult classic, especially given that we can now better understand what Jennifer's Body is really about, rather than putting it in boxed, hot girl stereotypes. I know Osmosis Jones isn't Jennifer's Body, but if it were a genuinely good movie, I think it would have stood the test of time better and been a lot of people's favorite childhood movie, especially because that's how some cult classics are formed. Childhood nostalgia sometimes takes the form of very niche movies, and people will always crave more of what they consider good content, even if it takes them a while to consider that it's good. But Osmosis Jones isn't that good. The only main reason I could find as to why Osmosis Jones may have been a box office failure is from Warner Brothers themselves. Brad Ball, who was president of Warner Brothers at the time, blamed Osmosis Jones' failure due to its use of 2D animation, at a time where CGI animation was getting more popular, despite the fact that Drix, a cold pill, was mostly CGI animated, and other props and items in the movie was CGI as well. It didn't help though that the directors, Peter and Bobby Fowley, only directed the live action portions of the movie and did not supervise any of the animated sections, leading to slight tonal shifts and weird mismatches when switching in between the two. But since almost all of the signs show a failure of a movie that should have been buried and forgotten, how come I know about Osmosis Jones? I stated at the beginning of this video I don't know where I was or what year it was in or what I was doing when I first watched Osmosis Jones. But I must have at some point, since before making this video I'd remember flashes of the plot and the fact that it was a movie with both animation and live action acting. I must have seen it before, and I'm not the only one. I asked a lot of my friends if they knew about Osmosis Jones, and we all did despite not remembering watching it, which doesn't add up. It's a failure of a movie, but not even ridiculously so bad that it becomes infamous, like 2009's The Room, which now has regular viewings worldwide and we can enjoy it through a meta, third-person lens. I think to figure out how we all know about Osmosis Jones, we need to set some facts straight. The movie aired in 2001, when I was 1 year old. And for me to remember watching it, I must have been, at minimum, 9 years old, which would have led me to watching it at earliest in 2009. I reckon I could have only watched it in two likely situations, either on TV via reruns or special showings of movies like they used to have on cable, or in school. I remember having periods in class where they would just wheel in that old VHS tape playing TV and make us watch a movie. And this makes sense especially with a movie like Osmosis Jones, which can pose as an educational film, if you're stretching the boundaries of how much a movie needs to teach you to be educational. In the early 2000s, edutainment was a theme in various children's films at the time. Nowadays, children's films still hold teachings and lessons, but generally center around morals and ethics, whereas interestingly enough, lots of 2000s children media were more educational, focusing on making subjects fun and teaching them in a more engaging way. Take a look at series like The Magic School Bus, Carmen Sandiego, or Osmosis Jones. Looking further online and onto Twitter, it seems like my conclusions were correct. I never went to middle school, but it seems like this movie is a staple in many health classes around the world, along with the greats like Bill Nye Science videos and my favorite Canadian show, Télé Français, which intended to teach children French through the use of a talking pineapple. Osmosis Jones, despite being a massive box office failure, has found its proper airtime and infamy in the late 2000s and early 2010s in science classrooms all around America when the teacher decides they just don't want to teach that day. And maybe that's just where it belongs. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below. This video cost me $2.99 and some mental sanity to make since I had to rent Osmosis Jones from Amazon Prime Video and watch it. Speaking of which, if you'd also like to support the channel, you can subscribe to me on Twitch. It's free if you link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch and helps me pay at no extra cost to you. Yet again, thanks so much for watching, guys. I know it's a bit different of an upload than I normally do, but I thought it would be interesting to do a deep delve into this. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.